Welcome, everyone, to the Bucket List Show. I'm Tammy Crandall with Journey Adventure Travel and Tours, as well as Barron Real Estate. And I'm here with my co-host, Rebecca Denise, with Real Estate Services, which includes new construction, protection, property management through Barron Real Estate.
Absolutely. Good morning.
And, of course, we have a special guest, which we will introduce shortly. The intention of our show, just so you're aware, is we are the Bucket List Show. And what does that mean? We are here to serve you so you can fill your bucket to live your most abundant life. And what that means for each of you and hear us today can vary based on the snapshot of where you're at in your life. So
Absolutely.
We're just going to jump into it. We are so blessed to have a special guest with us today, Samantha Jones Darling, author and spiritual mentor. Talk to us about it, what you do, Samantha.
Well, honestly, what I do is I travel the world exploring myself and the world around me, and then I write down what happened and I write what I learned about it, and then I share that wisdom with other people as needed.
Oh, that's fantastic, fantastic. I had such a blast reading through the book. I found it inspiring and I am a foodie by nature anyways. So for those of you who are foodies and love food references, that was such a fun thing, throughout the book. So where do those food analogies come from?
Well, my entire life has revolved around food. Ever since I was a little girl, my favorite thing to do was to ride my bicycle around the neighborhood, and I would find these cozy little spots to build a fort in, and I would set up the fort, and then I would go home and I would make a picnic and call my friends and say, okay, meet me at da-da-da-da-da, and I would bring people together to connect over food.
Oh, fantastic.
And then I was in the restaurant business for many years, and I love to cook. It's like my creative, meditative art, and within all of those experiences, I've always been a natural teacher, and so comparing spiritual things to food has made a really great impact on my life and other people's, because everybody loves food, everybody understands, and I can, just talk to the fun parts about that and change, and so I make a joke and say I used to serve pizza and beer, and now I'm a spiritual server.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So my tray is laden full of spiritual snacks and soul libations.
Yes.
Well, the food is healing, so
Yes, exactly.
it is healing.
Exactly.
So for me, I could relate to that part too, because food is. I love to cook. I love to enjoy it with my family, but I ultimately think how we use it is the healing part.
Exactly, and like what we put inside our bodies, the nourishment.
Yeah.
And I'm actually writing another book right now where I talk about this, about the discernment of what goes in our bodies.
Oh, of course.
And so it's like a progression of
that's
choosing
fantastic.
what you're going to eat and choosing what you're going to take in energetically and physically through your bodies.
It's like watching a bad TV show or a violent newscast. You don't want that energy.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
right. That's right.
And one of the things that I learned in my travels is that, we in our culture here in this country, we often focus on the consumption and the consumption. What are we going to eat?
true.
What are we going to do? What are we going to buy? But we often neglect to think, what are we going to let go? And then we often neglect the discernment of what is going inside of us. So this is something that I want to bring up in every book that I write.
Absolutely. And I know that I shared this with you on social media after I read the book.
It was the best post. I mean, it really was so good.
It
She
really,
did a fabulous job.
like I said, being a foodie and a person who appreciates food of all kinds,
Yes.
it's always about the experience, not just in tasting, but the tactile nature of it. We come from a long line of bakers in my family. We call it baking therapy, So I've always entered that portion of that. If I'm having a day, it's nothing for me to just go into the kitchen and whip up a batch of cookies, from scratch.
Yes.
I think nothing of it, But a lot of times we have a tendency to neglect ourselves. When we're getting ready in the morning, we're going to grab that bagel and grab that juice and run out the door and do these things. And so one of the things that inspired me so much in your book was, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give myself permission to cook for myself, like a real meal
Yes.
for me, for just me.
Because you deserve it.
Yes.
You deserve to take in all the love that you put into food.
Oh,
Because when we're cooking, we're not just cooking with the ingredients that are in our hands. We're cooking from the energetic ingredients that are in our bodies. And we're putting in love, and we're putting in intention, and we're putting in joy, and we're putting in creation, and you know, and all of these beautiful energies. And then we're eating it, and I love that you brought that up, because when I grew up, like I said, preparing the picnic and then sharing it with my friends. And so for many years, I did that with the restaurants and with my event planning and just home parties. And always I would cook, and then I would sit down and I would just sit back and just watch everybody else eat.
It's
right?
fun.
And it gave me so much pleasure. But then when I was flipping the switch, or flipping the perspective into how do I serve myself, I thought, well, I should put all that love into a plate that's for me. And now I cook things, and I put flowers on the table, and I light candles, and I have nice dishes that are just for me. And I only have a few, because that's all you need.
That's right.
You know, and just to pick like the loveliest things and make a presentation for yourself is such a delicious and nourishing experience.
And that's exactly why I chose to post pictures of what I was doing, kind of as I was doing it, and then to put kind of like the final piece.
Yeah.
Because I have a wonderful view outside of my big plate windows, to the water. So it was just such a fun experience, and my house was quiet, which is not very often.
Yeah.
And so to have that experience of the smells of the different food and putting it together and being able to share that experience with others and be inspired to do that. So thank you so much for that. It was really a very cleansing experience for me, and it was something that I think was long overdue. And that if you haven't had the opportunity to do that for yourself, I would so strongly encourage that. To sit down and make a beautiful plate of something for yourself. It was just a wonderful experience to have.
Yeah, and if it's not food, whatever it is that you do to serve others, turn that around for yourself. The food is a great example because everybody identifies with that.
Of course.
But also, like, whatever it is that you do. Like, I have a friend who she will go on a walk and meet other people for the walk, but has a hard time going for one just for herself.
Of course.
And so, like, she's working on that now in the same way. She's like, you've inspired me to take walk by myself. So whatever it is that you give to others, that's the point is, that we should all look at, how can I serve myself more?
Exactly.
And that's the piece that we forget. I mean, obviously your book is about healing and your story, but we all become the last on our own list until something happens.
Yes.
Something, there's a detriment and something happened and it changed, but we take care of our dogs and our animals maybe better than we take care of ourselves.
Oftentimes.
We know what the magic
we drive
trick
50
is.
miles to get dog food.
Yeah.
Right? But we won't walk around the block.
But we know the ingredients for a healthy life.
Yeah.
We just don't follow
exactly.
it.
Yes.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
we could, we're our own worst enemy that way. But the book is a reminder, for all of us to do it. What made you write the book?
It's my purpose, to be honest. It was something. Well, it's a two-sided thing. I wrote it for myself because the writing of what has happened in my life helps me to organize my thoughts and organize my feelings and to process what I've learned, where I've changed, right? What's my new perspective now that I've gone through this experience? And so I write to connect with myself and often to heal myself, right? And I can see where I'd like to do something different the next time, or maybe where I need to let somebody go that I don't want to play with again, and so I did that. I wrote it for myself, but then I afterwards I turn it into something I can share for the world because I've done all this work and I like to be of service and give people sort of the cliff notes. Like, I went through this, and this, and I learned all this. So here, just go this way, right? So
That's
I went
right.
from
Take
A,
the
B, C, D,
shortcut.
and here's the shortcut. Exactly. And to be honest, I study something called human design, and it's actually in my human design chart to show people the mistakes that I've made and how I learned from them so they can also learn from them. Isn't that interesting?
Yes,
like
it
it's
is.
literally that specific in my design. And I just think that's fascinating.
fantastic.
And I was already doing it, and then I saw that and I was like, oh, I love
Yes,
this. I love this.
that's fantastic.
You know,
That's fantastic.
For me, the key of it is, I think we're all meant to serve, whatever that capacity is.
Yes.
And when Tammy and I got together, we clicked off because we have a lot of the same experience in the past. But our common goal is we really do want to serve people and be kind and help them.
Yes.
And, so for us to start this platform, that was what it was all about. We didn't want it to be one focus.
Yeah.
We wanted it to be everything because we do want to serve people. And someone's going to hear this today. They're going to buy the book, or, we're going to send them information. I know I'm sending my book to my sister because we want that to compound.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And thank you all for doing that.
Yeah.
I love
Yes,
it. And
yes.
I love being here so we can amplify everything that we're all doing at the same time. Because when we collectively get together to serve, the energy that is created just reverberates even much bigger out into the world.
Yeah, and we need to
Awesome.
spread goodness. I mean,
Awesome,
we all have a
awesome.
story, but we need goodness in our world.
Yes.
We do. We
Yeah,
do.
we do.
Well, we are going to visit more of this topic. We're going to take a quick break for about 2 minutes and talk some more to Samantha Jones Darling. We have a lot more to talk about when we return. So we'll see you after the break.
And you're watching The Bucket List Show on WRPB.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bucket List Show. I am Rebecca Denise. I'm with my co-host Tammy, and then we have Samantha Jones Darling with us. So we are going to continue on with some of our questions. We are talking today about her book, which is The Sunset on Malibu.
Yay.
She is the author of the book, and I do believe it's going to be a series. But one of the questions I have is, you wrote about the love of light. What does that mean for you?
About the what?
The bringing in the love of light. You went from darkness to the love of light. So what does that mean to you?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Thank you. For me personally, when I talk about the darkness, I talk about like being in fear, being in lack, being in confusion, being in a place where you feel stuck, you feel trapped, and you don't necessarily know the way out, right? That's darkness.
Of course.
And then moving into the light, I actually call this the ladder of lightness in my book, where, we put together, different things that we can use to climb up and ascend into the light of day, right? Into the sunshine, into the love, into the light of your future, into the light of, your dream life, right? Whatever that looks like for you. And, going from one to the other is difficult. And if you, so does that answer your question?
It does. So I guess the two part, does faith drive into that at all?
Yes.
Okay.
And to me, because actually when I went into this experience, the Sunset on Malibu, I had grown up in religion and grown up in churches and going. And to be honest, I sought a connection with a higher power my entire life, and I was unsuccessful in connecting to it. And it was mostly from lack of information, lack of instruction, lack of attention in that development.
Of course.
And as a child, I didn't know what to look for or how to find it on my own. And so I looked and looked and looked, and then by the time I got to college, and I had been physically abused and sexually assaulted and all kinds of things. To be honest, I became an atheist, and I just thought, there is no God. Look how much has happened to me. There is no God. And then I met a man who felt the same way because he also had the traumas, and we lived like that for a long time. And that's one of the stories I talk about. There was moments where I was laying there in so much pain and praying to a God I never connected to and talking to angels I could never hear. And then, as I went through my own cleansing and releasing the darkness from my body and climbing up to the light, I'm just flooded with goosebumps right now talking about this. And then climb up to the light, I had this, and then I started being of service to other people just to be of service, not for anything for myself for the first time. And so putting together all of these things while releasing, now I can see that I cleared room in my own body and in my own life to feel the light of love. And
Of
then
course.
I remember the moment like it was yesterday, standing outside in the dark on the back, and I was on the phone with my friend Jamie, and he was in Charleston and I was in Malibu, and I just felt the love of the universe come out from within me and just fill my entire body and just wide out, and just like now my whole body filled with goosebumps, and I just started to cry, and it was the first time I ever felt anything like that, and I knew immediately what it was. And so it's, I guess I had worked for it. I don't know.
Right.
But it was something that my soul was driven to connect with, and
Right.
it was something that now I would, everything happens for a reason, right? And it all went as it's supposed to.
So when you said, when you felt that emotion and the warmth and the goosebumps,
Yeah.
and you said you knew what that was, what was it?
Well, it was the love of the universe.
Okay.
And the love of God. God. For me, God and the universe are the same thing.
Okay.
And so, and what I was going to actually say was the seeking of faith built the faith, right?
Right.
And it built the faith. And so that's something that I'm working with often now is, like, is my book going to hit? Are people going to hire me? All these things. And I'm having faith because I know this is my purpose and
Right.
this is what I'm meant to do. And so the exercise of building my faith builds my faith.
Right.
Yeah, no,
right.
and I think all those things are going to come. So, I mean, I could feel
Yeah,
it too.
and-
I was just
And
curious,
life is a
just to drill
progression,
that down.
right?
Yeah, it
Yes.
is.
And it
it's-
is a continual progression, right?
It
Yes.
is.
And every moment that we are building these things are opportunities for learning and strengthening.
Yeah.
Right? And more opportunities for me to be able to say, I do know how you feel. I've been there.
Yeah, and the thing is it's also being authentic and honest.
Yeah.
And as a society, with social media, oh, it's a perfect day. Well, it's really not. But
Right.
so another question I have is, what made you pick the center in Malibu?
You know what? I actually searched for months before I chose, and I was in my ego, obviously, because I was in so much darkness, and I was looking for a treatment center that did not require you to go to AA meetings.
Okay.
But within that, I also was looking for a treatment center that was heavily focused on therapy, because I knew what I needed was emotional and, emotional help, and the opportunity to stop what I was doing. So to be locked in and to talk to somebody I knew, and like I didn't have the words for it then. I didn't know I didn't know to say I need to talk, right? But I just knew something. And so I found, and it's so funny, I was typing in mid-luxury treatment centers.
Well, that's you're going to have to go.
Right, and somebody
You know.
I said that to. They're like, "There's nothing mid about you, Samantha," and I was like, "I know, right?" But I typed it in. There was nothing mid-luxury about this. It was a luxurious experience, on the outside, because it was in Malibu. It was a beach house. There were chefs. There was things. It was very, very nice. But even within that, there's still pain and struggle and fighting, and we
course.
were fighting for our lives.
You still
all
have to
of
put the
us.
work into it.
Yes, you still have to
regardless
put
of
the
what
work
the
in.
outside.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and it looks different. And I've met a lot of people since coming out of treatment that also did treatment in different ways, and there's all different kinds of facilities. So and it's hard because to know yourself would put you in the right spot, right?
Right.
But many times when we are in addiction, we don't know ourselves, and that's
Right.
how we got there. So, following your instincts, and that's what I
Is
did. I
the
just followed my
challenge.
instincts, and I ended up at the exact right place.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
that was where
good.
you were meant to be.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes,
that
and,
is-
and I was very lucky because they had a very holistic experience for us, and I was introduced to so many things that I actually still use today that I'd never even heard of.
Yeah, so you got the tools and the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So the last question I have, then Tammy could jump in. What made you go and not tell anybody? That part I think is
shame.
okay. Well,
Shame.
shame.
Just shame. I'll admit it.
Yeah, listen,
And
we
that's
all
actually-
carry that at some-
yes, and that
at
is-
some,
Yes, and that's
we
one of
do.
the reasons I wrote this book, because I was in so much shame and so much fear of being a failure, right? And in America, and I don't know about other countries, but here we see going to treatment as a failure. Oh, she went to treatment. Did you
Yeah.
hear? No, she went to treatment. She's saving her life.
Right. It's a-
That's what
that's a
we
good
should
thing.
say.
The best part.
That's
It's a
what
good
we
thing.
should say.
Yeah.
Oh, she's going to save her life. She's choosing herself. yes, we should
Yeah.
root for these people.
Yeah.
I should have been rooted for, but I didn't know how to do that. And that's what I
Right.
wanted. That's one of the main reasons I wanted to share this, because it wasn't as scary as I thought. And it wasn't a life-ending experience. It's a life-beginning experience.
Exactly.
It's a transformational experience that I would never, ever give up.
Right.
I mean, it was...
Well, you're reborn.
Yes, I was.
Well, you found the
reborn.
light, and
Yes.
you could see it.
Yeah, and it started because I took a step towards myself, and then when I got there, they were like, "Oh, here's how to take more steps towards yourself," and I did that, and I just, I surrendered to the fact that I had no idea what I was doing. I was a bad operator of my body and not bad, because I had a lot of success in some ways. But, I needed to restart, and I needed to be
Yeah.
taught, and that's what I got there.
And sometimes we do have to put our hand out and ask for help.
We often
And
do.
if you tell someone else, then everybody else has the cure. Or they're going to
Exactly.
fix it, or don't do that. The family will
Yeah.
know. Or
Yeah.
Well, that's an exercise in humility at the same
That too.
time.
Yeah.
Being
And I
grateful.
think that's probably the most challenging part, is accepting the fact that we aren't perfect and that we don't have to be.
Right.
We don't have to be. That's the first part. You
Well,
don't
and
have to
also
be.
on that note, that the imperfections are the opportunities to become stronger and to become more wise and to learn.
Yeah, it's like
Exactly.
people panic about failure, where failure really is good.
Yes.
You got to build it, that
Yes.
ladder.
Well, it results in growth. I mean, if I
It
think
does.
back, even
you can't
to
do the same thing every day.
Well, I mean,
Sorry.
no, it's good. I mean, even if you look back at where we started long ago, whatever we did 20, 25 years ago, we are not the same people.
Oh, no.
No.
You grow from those experiences with age. I say with age comes wisdom,
Well.
and there is a truth, a strong truth behind that, if you embrace it
Yes.
and you allow it to help you grow. So, so speaking of growth, we know we've got more coming beyond the sunset of Malibu. Can you talk to us about that?
I can actually. It honestly, I've been writing it for a little while, and when I'm writing a book or a story, I go in thinking I know what I'm going to say, and a lot of times the story dictates itself and takes
course.
me on its own journey. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know where I was going. That's beautiful. And so I've been writing this next book, and it's actually called The Ladder to Lightness,
Oh.
which is so
Oh,
interesting that you
fantastic.
asked me about that. Which that just became clear this week, and because it's a part story, it's stories, but it's also a true self-help book. How do you go from the darkness to
Yeah.
light? How do you build your own personal ladder to lightness? And this is a program that I have online for clients that I'm taking them through already. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to get really into this and really write down each one of these things so people can take control of their own lives, become sovereign in their own lives, whether you're religious or not. This works for you because these are practical steps to become, to live on earth.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
well,
it's
we're
gonna be-
looking.
I'm actually so
I'm
excited
looking
about it.
forward
I'm
to
excited
the
about that
next
too.
book.
I want that one
and
too.
So I'm looking forward to the next one that comes out. How do people get your book today? Can you tell
It's
us?
on Amazon.
It's on
It's on
Amazon.
Amazon. The Sunset on Malibu. It's on Amazon, and there's hard copies. There's paperback, and soon there will be audiobook, but not quite yet. Oh, but there's Kindle. You can do Kindle
Oh,
too,
Kindle?
so you could buy it and read it right now
Are
today.
you doing the voice for the audiobook?
Yes.
Good.
Oh,
that would be
right.
perfect
All
because you
right.
have
Yes.
it. That would make
I
you want to
actually-
hear the excitement and the
I
light.
do, and I actually was going to release this book straight to audio, but I had to write it first. And I was like, well, if I have to write it,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and make it a
No,
book.
because I still like paper books.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do too.
I like
like
book,
to feel
But
in
there are a
touch
lot of
of-
people who love to listen.
No,
and
I do
and
both too.
I do.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to do that for
I
them.
would still
All right.
read and listen.
Yeah,
Okay.
So that would be me.
yeah.
Well, these shows always go so quick.
They do.
And they do because we have a lot of fun together. So thank you so much, Samantha
you for having
Jones
me.
Darling, for
I had such a
joining
nice
us.
time here.
Thank
We
you.
did.
I
we
wish we
did.
could keep
appreciate it.
going. This is fun.
I know.
We
This
could do
is
it
fun.
again.
This is fun.
Well, you're
So-
definitely going to have me back in a couple weeks. when
Oh,
I
we
come.
will.
yes,
We will.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So this brings us to the
My
end
biggest
of
fans
the
right here.
We are.
the Bucket List Show. Again, I'm Tammy Crandall, and this is
I am Rebecca Denise.
Rebecca Denise. And if you want to do some things with us, just so you know, the Bucket List Show really has a partner in a sense through what we call the Bucket List Gang. It's a group we have on Facebook, and that group we have over 700 members.
group. You gotta
If
come
you
with
are
us.
a
Oh, I definitely wanna
foodie,
get into that.
yes,
Foodie.
if you're a foodie, if
yeah.
you love to travel, we get together once a month. So check us out. Our next event
Oh, I'm coming
will
to
be
that.
coming up on October 27th at Cafe Martier. We have about 30 slots left for RSVP. So get on the Bucket List Gang, BLG
together.
on Facebook,
I would love
and we
that.
would love to see you there. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
And go to Amazon.
Yes.
The Sunset on Malibu. Have a great day, everybody. Be kind.